In this lesson, we're going to create a camera to focus in on our scene. Alright, so now let's go ahead and create a camera move on our objects, or on our scene here, just to kind of help with some presentation. So we've learned the basics. Let's kind of push that just a little bit further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and I'm going to go to Matinee. We'll add a Matinee object to our scene. Okay, let's go ahead and take the tab, left click and hold, and drag that up here to the top to dock that up here. And let's go ahead and create a new group. So we'll go down to our track view, we'll right click, and we're going to add a new camera group. Let's give it a name. We're just going to call this camera 01, hit enter, and it gives us our movement track as well as our field of view angle. Now we're going to zoom out just a little bit, so use your mouse wheel to zoom out. You'll see the beginning and the end of the clip. Let's make sure that our snap is turned on. We're also going to take our timeline, or our slider, and we're going to move that to, let's do 3 seconds here. So at around 3 seconds, we don't have to be exact. Let's simply come in and add a key. Now because we've set this, let's make sure we select our track. Let's hit add key, and there we go. And you'll notice because we have our snapping turned on, it's placed that exactly at 3.0. Let's take our end key and let's pull that to 3, and then we're going to take our preview range, we're going to set that to 3. Perfect. Now with this key selected, let's go ahead and move in to our editor, and we're just going to simply move our camera forward. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll move it in just a little bit. Let's actually switch this to the local view so we can pull that in its local space. So we'll pull that in just slightly. Okay, just like so. And then I'm going to actually move this to the right. Actually, let's go ahead and hit Control-Z one time. Let's move it to the right in the world axis. So we'll move that across here. And then we're going to rotate it. Now notice the line here. It's not going to go forward and to the right. It's going to move across that. It's averaging out between those two movements that I've just done. The reason for that is because we have a single keyframe on there. Now if we wanted two movements to where it moves in and then over, what we could do is add another key. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's go ahead and set this to about 1.5. Let's add a key. With that key selected, let's go into our level editor, and then what we'll do is we will push that forward in the X direction. Okay, and let me pull it back here. Let me switch that over to local. Okay, so now you can see that line is now going forward to that first keyframe that the first keyframe that's in the timeline, and then moving on to the last keyframe in the timeline. So here's the first keyframe in the timeline, besides our base keyframe, of course, and then to our last key. All right. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and move to that last keyframe. Let's select it. You'll see that that updates in the position, and then I'm going to simply rotate it to look toward the objects that we had there. Okay, so it's going to look something kind of like that. Now if we wanted to, we could go ahead and kind of point that down to where it looks at our crate. Okay. Alright, so let's play this back. Let's kind of get an idea of what this looks like. And so what we'll do is we'll simply hit loop. We'll go into our scene and we can kind of see a preview of that. Let me hover away from that. Now you'll notice that it's moving pretty quickly. I want it to move nice and slow and to kind of focus in on that. So to change that up, let's go ahead and hit stop on this. To change that up, all we need to do is change the position of our keyframes. So let's go ahead, instead of doing 3 seconds, let's go ahead and pull this out to 5 seconds on both the preview and the end of the clip. Let's take our last frame and let's move that to the last 5 seconds there. So hold down Control, left click and drag your keyframe, and we're just repositioning these. So now this is going to be at 2.5 and this is going to be at 5 seconds. We've lengthened out that animation, so if we hit loop and go back in, you can see that it takes a little longer. Okay, and it's kind of focusing in. Now if we wanted to kind of play with the speed in which this is moving, we can come in and we can start to adjust our curves. Now again, the curves are going to be found in here. Now you'll notice that there are no curves, okay, based on this information, and the reason that is because we have not exposed those. Now I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, just to show you something new. Let's stop this. Let's go ahead and go to our movement track and let's expose our curves. That's done with this little icon here. Whenever you turn that on, your curves should show up, and for some reason I'm not seeing them come together here. Let's take a look. Make sure that we have everything turned on. Alright, so let's see. Let's turn that back on. There we go. There are our curves. You might also hit this all on here, say fit to all, and that should show them. We may have just been off of the position where we couldn't see those. I think that's probably what was happening. Alright, so here we can see the Y position, the X position, and the Z position. So X is red, Y is green, and blue is Z. So what we can do is we can come in and we can make some adjustments. We can adjust the overall curvature. So let's say that I wanted it to kind of come in to this point and then quickly go out. So what I could do is I can create a different type of tangent here by making it a break tangent. So I can come in and I can adjust the curve there. Okay, and I can adjust the speed in which it's moving away from that. Okay. Now left click and drag to pan about in your view. Okay, so that way you can see exactly what's happening here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. This is also a break curve. Let's kind of pull that down a little bit. And watch what happens. Watch how this changes the way that it moves. So if I go ahead and I hit loop, you'll see that as it comes in, it's changing the overall path of that. Okay, so it kind of comes in and backs away a little bit. Now I don't necessarily like the way that is, so let's go ahead and select that tangent and let's say auto tangent. We did that on both of those, and see how it straightens it out and it makes it a nice smooth curve again. Okay, so that's how we can work with the curve editor a little bit whenever we're working in Matinee. And we've kind of wrapped up this course here. So this should be easy for you to kind of go through, get an idea of what to expect in your first day in Unreal Engine. The final thing that I want to talk to you about in the next lesson is how we can package up our projects and cook those and get those ready to create a game. So we'll talk about how to do that next.